Ashanti is expecting her first child with Nelly. I know Irving Gotti is singing You Got It Bad in the shower loud and off key right now. Fendi, like the bag. This is the I Refuse podcast. This is Mr. Fox, the I Refuse podcast. Welcome back, bitches. When I tell you this is the greatest get back, like circle the block, get back with your true love thing, the greatest example I've seen in my life. As somebody that's been outside for a good while, Ashanti and Nelly's love story is one that we really didn't see coming. Like, I think that was on the low the first 10 years, and we didn't know about it until like later. Well, I didn't know about it until later on. I was like, wow, that whole time, huh? Then, they broke up. He went to be with Miss Jackson, had a reality show with the kids that was really cute for a couple of summers. Then, we fast forward. Ashanti is doing her stuff, looking really good down on the Instagram. Nelly's still kind of torn a little bit, not doing the music a whole lot. He knows his pocket, he knows his bag or whatever. So we were chilling, we were cool for a minute. Then one Irving, okay, decides to get diarrhea of the mouth again, while plugging the mini series that he had been putting out called Tales. Didn't watch it. At some point, he started bringing up stuff about Ashanti. Then he started going on and on and on and on and on and on again in promotion of the Murder Inc. story. Now, as somebody that has lived through that era of hip hop, remembering the indictment and them getting the charges dismissed or getting acquitted and stuff, never knew about the build up to how Murder Inc. came to be. Got more of his family life, his love for Poppy, who had passed by the time it came out, how he got his start as like a DJ, but still having somewhat of a big mouth then. One of his earlier productions was for Mick Geronimo, underrated. His association with Jay-Z, touring with him abroad, doing a lot of the earlier stuff for Jay-Z's earlier albums, post Reasonable Doubt, kind of laying the groundwork, right? I was like, okay, a little bit more respect. Just when you think this shit is really good, we get that you get Murder Inc. now. You have the other artists, Charlie Baltimore was in it. I believe, Vita was in it with her 2,000 teeth. For some odd reason, and the girls tried to keep it cute, but it was like, at some point during this docuseries, whatever you want to call it, it became Ashanti centered. I'm like, okay, where's this about to go? Didn't talk about all of the songwriting accomplishments, her arrangement skill. Didn't really hype her up or give her a whole lot of reverence that satisfies all the attention that she gets. And in hindsight, back in 2002, when we were outside, like you couldn't beat Ashanti. Between the album and the singles and her being the lead vocalist on J-Lo's remix singles, writing and stuff and all that, you couldn't escape this girl for like a good 2 or 3 summers. And with that, there was a lot of pushback against her. Like, why is she getting the Lady of Soul or the Aretha Franklin Award at the Soul Train Awards, and her album's barely been out for about 6 months? Like, how are you the Entertainer of the Year and you only got like 2 songs out? And I'm like, So people didn't get why she was getting a lot of shine that early on, even though Foolish was everywhere, Baby was everywhere. I didn't really particularly like that song. Happy was everywhere. She had What's Love out with Fat Joe, Always on Time, Mesmerize, the J-Lo stuff. Never once did Ashanti complain or like come out and say, yeah, that's not really J-Lo's voice doing all the heavy lifting. That's my voice on the remix album. Okay. So when you get to the Murder Inc. documentary, they didn't do anything that supports that. It was more like Irving, in my opinion, and I'm always going to call him Irving because you're not about that life and you're more like a loudmouth. But anyway, it was more like the older creepy guy bragging about sleeping with the young artist. And it's like, we are pushing 50 now. We're in our 50s, late 40s, still harboring some kind of feeling, right? That you just can't get over. Even though you've allegedly been cheating on your wife during that time, and y'all tried to like be like PR darlings on the reality show. Oh, well, he wasn't cheating on me. The wife was like, well, it wasn't Ashanti that he was cheating on me with. Let's be clear. She's not the reason why we... Like, for the last 5 or so years, Ashanti's name has been in this guy's mouth, right? And it's like, I thought it was about Murder Inc. Why are we not talking about Ashanti as the artist and not, Irv being the weirdo? And we talked about this on the podcast, but that kind of shit made Ashanti come out. Like, take a reprieve from the IG, looking very good, by the way. Take a reprieve from the vacations, take a reprieve from, the sold out shows. Because even though she hasn't had an album out in a while, people still want to hear the music. Like, it takes us back. She went on the Angie Martinez podcast to talk about that. And very well media trained, very well, good at not even mentioning his name, but everybody that's listening knows what she's talking about. Needless to say, Ashanti came out of that as the winner and unscathed. And no, he really tried to play like, oh, she wasn't there during the trial. She was there. She wasn't there to support. She was there. But we need to have a discussion around how doing something without being asked, like, it's not a problem when it's beneficial to you. But once you get out of something or time has passed on something and you don't have anything else going on, you still have a layer of bitterness when it comes to my name. And let's be clear, the trial itself just stems from your association with the guy that's in jail. And essentially, the moment you guys laid low on that association, miraculously, you guys, I guess, it was dismissed. You guys really wasn't acquitted. But it was just like, you either laid low on the association with this guy in jail, or some influential, high-paid people were paid to make it go away. Doesn't mean you didn't do anything. Anyway, recently, I want to say the last 6 months or so, or even while the documentary was out, Nelly and Ashanti were kind of trolling. While they were doing shows together. I don't know if they were on a joint like little tour together or whatever, but they were kind of trolling. Nelly was like, "See you at the basketball game courtside," and Ashanti laughs. But we all kind of see that something was coming. They were either already starting to reconcile and date again, and we were the last to know, or it was just, either way, it was just very, very, very fun to see. Because while they were together those first 10 years, never heard of any problems, never heard of any kind of whatever. And they look cute together. So to know that after 5 or so summers, everybody that's listened to your music, we're in your 40s, we're in our 40s right now, to know that you have circled the block and ironed your shit out. Like, when we say standing on business, this is what we mean. Grown men, grown women business, approaching it, carefully, and I bet they were probably friends the entire time anyway. Just trying to see what's up. And then at some point we start seeing more coupled appearances together. She recently bought him for his birthday a really slick car. So we like, this is real serious. You know what I mean? Like, this is a 6-figure car. So that was going to be like, okay, they're back together because you ain't buying this for an ex you want to keep as an ex. But to know that when Ashanti Douglas is pregnant with her first child by Nelly, the next natural step is marriage. Like, let's go ahead and do it. We ain't getting no younger. Let's get married. I'm calling it by 2024, sometime in 2024, they'll be married. And it'll be a wrap. And Irving Lorenzo will be singing off key, real loud to the top of his lungs, You Got It Bad by Usher, Love by Keisha Cole, what else? Let It Burn by Usher, I Wish I Wasn't by Heather Headley. You're Getting in the Way by Jill Scott. Listen, we could run a whole playlist at this point of Irving Lorenzo's Shower Heartbreak sing-along. So, moving right along, I will be in the theaters this week to watch the Renaissance tour film. I said on the podcast, on the latest episode, I didn't get the chance to get tickets early this year for the tour because money was funny and brother was just saving up to be in a bigger spot, which is this 3-bedroom that I'm in right now. So, missed it, but of course, everybody else with social media had to go live, which was cute. The outfits was cute. You know, you guys really stepped it up a little bit, improving a little bit better than what I saw down at on the Run tour a couple years back. Like, girl, are you really wearing drawers with a thick black band as your outside wear? But y'all look cute. Y'all did the best that y'all could with the funds. You know, now this is what you're on point with. So, notwithstanding the spoilers, notwithstanding the failing to do the mute challenge, and how out of sorts y'all are, I'm gonna go see the film. And will I cry? Probably. They are going to focus, of course, the tour, of course, but like with any documentary or film coming out of Parkwood Entertainment, and Beyonce's in it, it's more so the behind-the-scenes stuff. The family stuff, the personal stuff, Blue Ivy playing her role as the general manager, them kind of going back and forth. Can't believe how tall Blue Ivy is. They're going to definitely talk about the feedback that Blue Ivy has been getting on her dancing. And, you know, you guys just can't seem to stay off of this girl for some reason. Like, focus on your own kids. Instead of focusing on Blue Ivy, try to keep your child off of the Amber Alert. How about that? So, I'm all here for it. I saw in the trailer that there's a DC Fire reunion, which I'll get into right after this segment. But definitely, I will be in the theater on the 8th to see the Renaissance film with a friend of mine. I will not be dancing and twerking all up on the railing. You will not see fireworks. I will probably throw my $12 soda at somebody who is blocking the screen because they want to make the show about them. But I think I'll be all right. I think I'll be okay. Where I'm going is a predominantly white area. They'll probably be too overwhelmed. They'll probably be crying alongside my black ass. But we'll see. I hope it's not similar to the Taylor Swift experience where y'all were doing like campfire sing-alongs and Around the Rosie, just really giving Paranormal Activity, Last House on the Left, what's that shit with the pentagram? Those kind of movies. That was what that was giving. Like, y'all look like y'all about to open up another portal. So, anyway, here's the thing. A couple of videos ago, I was trying to tell y'all, you know, justice for Latavia Roberson, right? And we were almost there. A lot of us know by now that this new Beyonce song, My House, looks like it's going to be the setup for Act 2. And a lot of us before that said, I feel like Act 2 may be a DC 5 reunion. Not with Fair, not the intern. You know, the girl that was afraid that her and her luggage weren't going to make it to the same place. Anyway, I was pushing. I'm like, look, y'all don't talk enough about DC4. Everybody talks about DC3 and how, you know, there isn't a bridge that Michelle can't cross. But as somebody, again, that has been outside since the 90s, I will always big up DC4 first. The original 4 lineup that's been there since 1990, that was on Star Search, that tried to get on Columbia or tried to get on Jive, I think, another label before they got to Columbia. You know, the Writings on the Wall lineup, the debut album lineup, Justice for Latavia and Latoya. Richer harmonies. Latavia holds down the lower register, the lower notes. But she was the only one out the group that just didn't pan out into doing an album or music or anything. So we didn't hear much about her vocally, right? Now, if I know Beyonce Giselle knows Carter, the way I know my Beyonce Giselle knows Carter, I know that any appearance, like she's always thinking ahead. Like them being in the Renaissance film is a big deal. I don't know what could come, but when I tell you, Latavia being on Terrell's show, no problem. Terrell is good peoples. We love the Terrell show over here. And he gets some pretty good names. He got all four members, or the other four members, Kelly, Latavia, Latoya, and Michelle, on his show in rapid succession. Cute, clever, fun, good time, great energy. She could have kept it there. Why? When I opened up the Bird app this morning, we get a preview or a trailer of her, Latavia Roberson, sitting down with Carlos King. And Carlos King has given me good reality TV. The First 15, Hollywood Divas. Like, he's given me some good stuff. The podcast is cute. He has good connections. His name is in decent enough standing to pull some good guests. Like his Nene podcast appearance, A1. Notwithstanding that, though, Carlos King, I would, with his line of questioning and what he's trying to get out of certain people, it's like sitting across from Gary with the tea. And I get it, like, the largest part of Latavia Roberson's legacy at this point will always be the formative years of DC4 and the fallout and her experience from that, right? The story will always be the same. However, like, she's told her experience multiple times before. Years before, the Renaissance film and, the Renaissance era and all this other stuff. So we know the story's not going to change unless something else happens recently. So it's like we know what the story is. You know what I mean? It's just, as someone that has been out of the spotlight for a while, and we've gotten to a point right now where it looks like in the film, everybody's made amends. Everybody has made amends. Things are cool. We know it's never been an issue with Beyonce and Kelly per se. Mere so just management. And Matthew Knowles was back there. So it's like, oh, okay. This will close the chapter on that dark time, right? And those of us that have been outside have seen the MTV interviews back when MTV was doing the when they were doing the news stuff. Like they did additional stuff where they had like specials. They got the drama and it. What a time! So we thought, okay, you guys circled the block, met Beyonce in superstar status. Like Beyonce's name at this point can open so many doors for you, right? Like this isn't 1999, 2000 Beyonce. This is 2023, 2024. Like Beyonce manages herself. Beyonce has Parkwood Entertainment. Beyonce is her own entity. Like she's gone by one name for like the majority of her career. You decide you want to sit down with Carlos King? And the direction of his interviews sometimes is like he wants to direct it to as much dirt as possible. And I get like it's really about your experience, but you've also been out of the industry for a while. You probably have not been, your media training has probably not been updated to incorporate the lowest level of perceptions that people now have. Like this isn't, with social media, it's like people, just by people seeing the image alone of you sitting with Carlos King is pissing a lot of people off. And this coming out on the heels of the Renaissance film having been out 4 or 5 days, and we've seen the trailer, we're like, oh, it's giving Snake energy to some people. I'm just saying. And then they'll move on to something else. Like, nobody's going to stick around to even probably watch the whole thing. Just the image alone, they'll just take and run with and come up with their own conclusion. And then social media, they can put all that into a tweet. Somebody else picks it up. And it's like, look, high alert on snakes. Like, we just now, we're not even comfortable with Phaedra being on Married to Medicine. Not even Married to Medicine. We haven't forgot you. And you know what I mean? Just, it's just not a good look, mama. And those of us that are like internet consulting firms and internet keyboard thugs and stuff will definitely opine to say you should have a better PR team. Like, I know you probably don't have a lot of money and, you know, you're living off of what you're getting from these interviews and stuff, but you got to read the room. And some people are confused. Me, of sound, critical, mature mind, I get it. You want to just share your experience. But we've heard it before. We've heard it before. We've lived through that. We saw the Say My Name video, how the girls in the video doing the Boom Boom Cat are not necessarily the same girls on the album cover, not the same voices on the song, to how 3 girls walked out on the Grammy stage to pick up the Grammy Award for Best R&B Performance. Were not the same 4 girls that were on the song, on the album cover. And all 4 original members were in the building. The other 2 original members were in the audience, but were blocked from Matthew Knowles from walking on stage. Now that would have been a catch had they, I would have did it. I would have pulled an ODB. I'm like, look, I'm a songwriter on this song. I'm a vocalist on this song. I was in the studios all those hours working on this album. Yeah, we're going to be on that stage. I'll run right up on the stage, say Destiny's Child is for the children, collect my Grammy, and get my get my Acura and look at my phone bill that I can't pay because, disproportion inequality of funds being dispersed among the four members. But it'll be a moment. Like, I'm from the school of you can't play in my face. But I'm going to let you ride this one out because you're going to do what you do. But, Latavia. Like, one thing I know is that while Beyonce doesn't answer our voicemails and phone calls, she's definitely paying attention to a lot that's going on. And she's only going to use that to improve her game. Like, there's a reason why she doesn't do a lot of interviews because of shit like this. Like, a lot of us are taking these podcast episodes and these interviews and revering that as greater than 2020 Dateline, like, legitimate journalism. But, views and shit and money and get your bag and dollar bill or whatever. But Latavia, baby. Dang, girl, I really wanted you to really come back. Like, dang. You couldn't wait until, like, tour and agreements were signed and recording sessions were booked and you did all the work first. Like, sometimes being a Scorpio, y'all can be a little bit brainless. Like, being duplicitous and, you know what? Never mind. What else we got? We got. Oh. I watched the Thriller 40th anniversary documentary. It's on Paramount Plus by way of Showtime. That was the only documentary I've seen about Thriller. I have Motown Off the Wall. That's something different. A lot of people wasn't feeling it. So a lot of people said it was incomplete. As somebody that Thriller isn't even my favorite or the best Michael Jackson album of all time, in my opinion. Like, I put Thriller probably second or third to Bad. Dangerous is higher than Thriller to me, but I get it. If anything, when you go into this documentary, you get into more of the behind the scenes stuff and you get to see archival footage. Like the players that played on the record, the people in the studio as they're recording The Girl Is Mine, Beat It, Human Nature, Baby Be Mine, Wanna Be Starting Something. They honestly could have made this a docuseries. Like, Thriller is still selling. And of course they talk about Motown 25 and all that other stuff and the making of Thriller, which that was definitely the song that took the album, like, out of this world. I like Beat It, I get it, like, how significant the music video is. And they definitely talk about the alleged racism coming from MTV as a pure white rock channel. But I wish they had spent more time on that. Like, you had roughly 2 hours of this documentary. I would say the first 45 minutes should have been about all of that. How MTV didn't want to play the music or the music videos kudos to Walter Yitnikoff. I don't know if he's still alive, but Jewish people definitely do come through for black people sometimes. Like, you gotta understand, and this is kind of playing right into, I guess, the other side of the argument when it comes to black artists and not being embraced by white audience, whereas Lenny Kravitz is a black artist that feels he's not embraced by black audiences. Which is funny because they were just having a discussion on the Bird app about that, and the evidence that they brought to the thread was magazine covers, which is purely about aesthetics and not about the music. Because here's the thing. Thriller, honestly can't say enough. The documentary definitely serves to get into what makes Michael Jackson special. More than just the performer, more than just, which, it gets into like his dancing ability. Misty Copeland says, Michael Jackson definitely had all the variables or characteristics to be a great male ballet dancer, which I never even thought about that. But also how most of the songs, definitely the ones that he wrote and composed, how in the demo phase, and you gotta understand, like, Michael Jackson wasn't the type to like have the concept on the way to the studio, do the song in one take, and that was it. Thriller was recorded over a year and a half, almost 2 years. And that's from concept demo at the family compound in California to scheduling, all that, and even though he would have multiple takes, because he was never a one and done kind of guy. Even though, let's say, the duet with Paul McCartney, they had the footage from one of the sessions, which was probably the last session. It wasn't just one session, they do their vocals and they go home. Like, there's a long process that goes into it. Testament to the kind of work ethic that Michael Jackson had. But there was one particular part of the documentary where I was just like, I had no idea. So for Wanna Be Starting Something, he had a trio of singers called the Water Singers. I don't know if they were like sisters and brothers, but I think they were related somehow. In the demo phase or part of the some of the songs, Wanna Be Starting Something, by the time he invited them out to the house, he already had what he needed. He just wanted to bring them in, and Michael Jackson could syncopate and vocalize instrument sounds. And now if you listen closely to Thriller, a lot of the background and the sounds that are laid on top of the instruments and the production and everything, that's Michael Jackson's voice. Case in point, Human Nature, as it starts to fade out, that's him making that sound. But with Wanna Be Starting Something, they said that, by the time we got there, he had everything already laid out how he wanted. He invited us out because he said, you guys sound so good. Like, you guys sound like me. Very important, because a lot of maybe 3 or 4 of those songs, Wanna Be Starting Something, Baby Be Mine, PYT, and I want to say Thriller, you honestly couldn't tell. And Michael Jackson layers his voice. You know, I wouldn't mind if we had like an acapella version of the Thriller album, because in the documentary they played some of the acapella or the vocals from Thriller, the Beat It, and it's just his voice. He fills it in. Like you can just listening, you can get an idea of how like gifted his mind was. And let me tell you, when it comes to music, it while it's nice to be studied and learned, and about the ways that Quincy Jones learned about music, there are those artists and producers and stuff out here that, while they may not be able to read and write music, they can communicate in a way what's in their mind to the musicians. And when you have an artist like Michael Jackson that could emulate instruments, and the session musicians, from a couple of minutes of conversation, knows exactly what instrument you need, and they go out to their little trailer and go and get it and bring it, and it's on the genius. All in all, the Thriller documentary was good. Watching all of the archive footage, having the key players down to Quincy Jones's assistant at the time to discuss what it was like in all those multiple studio rooms, and even his the I guess the lawyer for his estate, or executive over his estate, who was, I believe, his agent during that time. I was like, wow, they initially did not want to give him $1.5 million to produce the Thriller music video or movie. Because Michael Jackson was like, what's a music video? We doing films over here. Like, who does that, But Michael Jackson had the means and the name to do it. They weren't, there was a point where MTV just wasn't budging. And Epic Records at first wasn't going to give him the $1.5 million until he got his agent on the line. But you know what? Epic Records, especially Walter Yetnikoff, said to MTV when they were like, for whatever reason, that they weren't going to play any of Michael Jackson's music videos or music, was, oh, okay, well, we're going to pull Billy Joel and some other big name white artists from circulation over there at MTV. Boom! Mic drop. See how beautiful it can be when we're supported. See how it is? If nothing else, go watch the Thriller 40th anniversary documentary to not only learn, the business and get some know-how as to even at that level, even as a person as accomplished as Michael Jackson, how the racism doesn't stop. Because you got to understand, this was after Off the Wall, which made its mark for Michael Jackson separate from the Jackson 5 and the Jacksons. Oh, and they also talked about that too. To where it was like, the Jacksons as a name, as a group or a brand or whatever was kind of going downhill. And Off the Wall was definitely that album that made people look at Michael Jackson as an adult. And he was also going through like a transformative phase during that time. Not only from Little Baby Mike, but physically, like he would be in rooms and people would be looking for Motown Mike, and it's like, he's right here. And even white audiences kind of downplayed his reach with Thriller because all they were looking for was Little Kid Mike, even though it'd been like almost 20 years. But even after Off the Wall, he was still getting resistance. But that didn't stop Michael Jackson. Perseverance and ambition, done right, doing it your way. Get into it. So, I'm trying to think what else. Latest episode of the podcast on Apple Podcasts is out. It's been out. It came out yesterday. Get into that wherever you get your podcast, the I Refuse podcast. I'm trying to think what else. Does anybody know why schools in this country are sending children as young as 5 years of age to the ER in handcuffs? Which, not shockingly, are mostly children of color. Some with special needs, some with mental health issues. Let's get into it. This is Mr. Frosty I Refuse podcast. You'll have to catch the rest of that on the next episode. And we will catch you guys later. Bye. Fendi, like the bag. This is the I Refuse.